Never mind. All right. So we've all gotten together, and this is very exciting because you've read, I think, chapter 33 and 34. Soon we'll be having our party for finishing the book of knowledge. But there are two images we've been working with in these chapters. One is the target, and the other is the camels crossing the desert. And as you know, Imam al-Ghazali tells fun, wonderful stories, and he gives amazing images that really help us, because the journey we're all on together is not easy. You know, it is the toughest journey, you know, like the camels and the rocks in the desert. But we'll start out with talking about, if you're going to shoot an arrow, have a target. You don't just shoot an arrow anywhere, right? You want to have a place you're going with it. You don't just start set out on a journey and don't have a destination. You just wander aimlessly, right? So you can say, and the more you practice what you're doing, let's say you're practicing archery, the more you practice, the more perfect you get at it, right? And I think that's what, when we think about the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, copying him over and over again, finally it starts to become second nature. You know, they all know I'm watching the Ertugrul series on television. You see the children and you see the women just pull back the bow and arrow, bang, they get it in the center of the target. It's become second nature because they've practiced it so much. So part of what we're doing with our Ghazali studies is finding things that we need to practice in order to reach the target. What is the target we are all after? Who would like, you can all unmute yourselves, and anyone who wants to say, what do you think the target is we are all after?
The heavenly garden.
Very good, excellent. And here's a question. The heavenly garden, you know, is that somewhere else, or is there a place you can find it closer to home? Where can you find the heavenly garden in yourself? Who would like to answer? Yes, Zach, or is it Yusuf or Zach?
Sorry, it's Yusuf.
Yes.
So could it possibly be your soul or your heart?
The heart. It's the heart. So you don't have, it's not like you're going to a place that's you can't even imagine where it is. But you see, your heart is the section, it's where time and eternity intercross. For example, when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he received the Quran, did he receive it in his mind? No, it went to his heart. And the heart, your heart is so special. It's your one place where you connect to eternity, to all the paradisal dimensions, and the rest is just you. So the heart is very important. That's why it's called the core of your being. You couldn't live without your heart. You could live without your eyes and your hands and your legs and many things, but without the heart, you couldn't exist. It's just like the sun. Without the sun, could our world exist? Could the universe? It couldn't. So that's the center of your being. So we are all trying to make it to the same goal, right? Now, what do you think, in order to learn something, this is a question for you all, in order to reach this target, in order to reach your heart, right? You need, Ghazali says there's certain things you need to learn. Now we can learn things from the Quran and the Hadith. What kinds of things are we learning from Imam al-Ghazali to reach our hearts? Yes, go ahead.
We're getting divine knowledge.
Very good, we're getting divine knowledge. He's right. You read that carefully. This very profound knowledge, yeah. And what are some of the things, everybody, that we are learning that we're trying to get good at so we can reach the target? What are some of the things we're practicing that he's telling us to watch out for, to not do, to do? Everyone say one thing that you've learned from him that you need to do or not do. Okay, we'll go around. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Go ahead. Maybe to not envy.
Excellent. You're learning that. All right. Very important. Okay. Next.
Not backbite.
Not backbite. Okay. Next. Everyone's going to speak. Yes. Zach.
Yusuf again. Sorry.
Sorry.
Help others.
Help others. All right. And now, Zach, would you like to say something?
Be present.
Be present. Very beautiful. Mhm. Very beautiful. Be present. All right. Keep going, everybody.
Be patient.
Be patient. Right.
Jenna wants to say not to have too much pride.
Thank you, Jenna, very much.
Yeah.
The hidden Jenna, the hidden Jenna. All right.
You should be humble.
You should be humble. Very, very important, right?
And you should also keep out the bad thoughts, because they're
Oh.
like barking dogs at the angels in your presence.
That's right. See, the whole group knows about the barking dogs. You see, whether we're here in America or we're there with you. That's quite a good image, isn't it? Yeah, very important. The thoughts. We're all working on the thoughts. All of us talked about the thoughts last week and how we have to really be aware of them. I'm sorry, there's a sound in the background. My husband is squeezing orange juice with his electric squeezer. So, all right. Okay, who else would like to say some of the tools they're learning from the map? Yes.
To have a goal.
To have a goal. That's really true. Thank you, Rima.
To respect everyone
Absolutely.
and to be considerate and honest.
Absolutely.
Having
And-
a clean heart.
Having a clean heart. Yeah, these are, because Ghazali is saying, in order to reach the goal, right? Because there could be two goals in life, right? There could be the goal of getting the world, right? There's a beautiful hadith that says, Faman kanat hijratahu, whoever makes his hijra, his going out, his pilgrimage, his life journey to reach God and be present with the prophet, his life takes on that whole quality. And then, but whoever makes his journey just to get the world and money and big cars and fancy jewels, their whole life, that's what their life is made of. It's kind of the fiber of their life. So we're trying to find ways to reach the real goal. And who else would like to give some of the things they're learning? Yes.
Us.
Yeah.
So to like not let your lowestness take over yourself and to control yourself and not get into arguments.
So also like no backbiting, obviously, and remembering that you can't always see like the bigger picture.
That's right. Yes, exactly. We talked a lot about that, right? Yeah. Haldoon family, I mean, we've been really honest. This London group, this Dubai group, we've actually exposed ourselves where we've been, unhappy with someone at school, all kinds of things. And all right. And the little one, your name is, I've forgotten it. It's Miriam.
Zara.
My name's Zara.
Sarah. Yes. All right, Sarah, what were you going to say?
It's Zara. It begins with a Z.
She's trying to say her name is Zara.
Oh, Zara. Oh, I see. Zara. Okay, Zara. What are some of the things you've learned from Ghazali to reach the goal?
That you should want the best for others. and
Yeah.
you should-
Wow.
Oh, I wish they never got that. And you should always think. You should always be happy for your friends.
Wow.
Never.
She's one of our best students. She's one of the youngest, but she always gets the ultimate answer, because one of the hardest things we've all talked about is wanting the best for others, right? Because, somebody gets good news, they won the game, and there might be a little, "Oh, I wish I had," really wanting the best for others. By the way, everybody, that can't come from your nafs, from your normal personal story. It can only come from the heart. In order to really, really be happy for someone else, it has to come from being present in your heart. Okay, who else would like to say something? Any other comments? Mothers?
Be helpful to your parents as much as you can.
You see, all of these things are certainly in the Quran. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Everything that we're learning from Ghazali, he's taken from Quran and Hadith. and some of the traditions passed along by some of the great minds and beings of the Islamic heritage. And Hamza Yusuf said that Ghazali's 40 books, the Ihya Ulumuddin, the Revival of Religious Sciences, it's like the Quran in a usable order. You know, sometimes you're reading the Quran and there's this story and this story and this story. But what he's done is he's taken us from what is learning, the real and the lower learning, and all the way up, who are we, the heart, where are we going, and then taking us through the whole way. And so Imam al-Ghazali, bless his heart, right? He puts each thing we have to do, and then he finds passages from the Quran and Hadith to back it up. So it works. It's an incredible master plan. Our brother Hamza Yusuf said, if you really did what Imam al-Ghazali is telling you to do, and it's really difficult, right? You would reach your heart. So, I mean, Ghazali was so serious about this. Remember, he's teaching in his class. He's so smart. He's a show off. And he knows that the real target is the heart. And what happened to him when he realized that he was just being prideful teaching? What did he have to do in order to reach his heart? Yes.
Allah helped him out by making him a mute for a bit of time.
Exactly.
And eventually, of course, he regained the gift of having a voice.
Yeah.
We may take that for granted. And he learnt, because he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he was trying to change, but Allah loved him so much and he wanted him to stay on the right path. So he helped him out by making him mute, and so he became, he became a cleaner in a mosque. And the people he believed had wrong opinions, but he didn't pipe up about it. And he learned to be reserved, and not show that he has loads of knowledge.
You see, look, there was humility, you know, he finally emptied himself. That's, you really tell that story beautifully. It really makes me cry. That's really well done, beautifully done. So yes, Imam al-Ghazali realized, you know, if you're gonna do it, do it. If not now, he said, I was on a crumbling bank. My life was falling apart. And I said to myself, up and away, if not now, when? Now, that's what we have to be asking ourselves all the time, family. You know, we can make all of this very theoretical and talk about it, but the big deal is, when do we really do it? And children from London and Dubai, the Khaldoon's boys, they made a video where one of them has a new iPhone and the other comes in to the room and is really envious and really jealous, and he wanted an iPhone too. And he realizes, I'm envying. So he goes to his prayer rug in his room, he gets it out and he prays and he says, Ya Allah, forgive me for envying, right? I mean, that's very consequential, not just to notice you're doing something, but ask Allah's forgiveness, like even when you're doing wudu. So then he goes to bed and he's done it. He's seen himself envying and he was sorry for it. And then his father was aware of it. His father was listening in, listening to his prayers, listening to his dua. So that night his father came and gave him, put by his bedside, a really modern, new, slick iPhone. Now, we're not saying that he got rewarded with something, you know, that he did it for a physical reward. He did it because he wanted to be right in himself. He didn't want to betray his own inner dignity, right? He saw what he did and he corrected it, right? But this is a great symbol that he was given something beautiful, you know? And so even the story of Job, Sayyidina Ayub, remember, he loved Allah and he had lands and had family and cattle. And one day Shaitan says to Allah, no wonder Job, Ayub loves you and praised you and adores you, because look at all you gave him. I bet if you took that away, he would curse the day he was born. So then suddenly all of his animals are dead, and his plants are dead, and even his family is dead. And there he is, and Shaitan said, go ahead, right? Allah, you've still left him okay. But so then Allah gave him terrible disease all over his body, boils. So he's lying in the dust with things hurting him very badly. And then Shaitan says, go ahead, curse the day you were born. And what Sayyidina Ayub did, he said, how can I ever curse Allah, who gave the eagle the power in its wings to fly? He gave the muscles for the tiger to leap. Look at all of this. He refused. And you know what happened? Here's an example, like in their video about envy. Then Allah gave him back everything twofold, meaning he got his health back, he got his family back, he got his stuff back. But twofold, what he really got back was he went through his trials, he got his heart back. You see, he got his spiritual life went from being just a believer and loving his faith to actually knowing it. He was tried, he didn't give up, he stayed with it, and look what happened. So that's another example of this. So I thank you very much, Yusuf, for mentioning, because Imam al-Ghazali, he really did bite the bullet, as they say. And so the way Ghazali constructs his books, he builds a platform, and then he builds up from a solid platform going up and up. And then Ghazali asks, right, let's say, in order to make your heart right, and you have to prepare for it, if you have to pray, what do you do in order to pray before you pray? Someone say, make wudu, right? Yeah. If you are going to build an airplane, what do you need to do beforehand? What do you need to know before you? Yes. Mm-hmm.
You need to be good at engineering.
Absolutely. You need to have learned engineering, right? Now, if you're going to go for your heart, is that what we're learning about? We're learning the tools, what we need to polish the heart, because we're on a journey together, everybody, and we have a destination, getting the heart together, right? And we're not just wandering around. So we have to not just talk about these things, but we have to really experience them. So I'm going to tell you a little story of what happened day before yesterday. Because I mean, we can sit around here all the time and talk about wanting the best for others, and then a moment comes and we don't, right? And I'm reading a book about having a tender heart. And the tender heart, when you see someone who has a very tender heart, right? When you think, what makes you feel, what takes you into feeling really good in your heart, right? You can feel really good if you have some ice cream. And all of you who are playing your videos, it's a really great video. Wow, it was great. You can feel really good doing many, many things. But when do you experience the joy of the heart? And this book said, listen to this, everybody, when you are actually really doing something for someone else completely from your heart, not just, I better help mother because Ghazali says it, or I'm not gonna steal that pencil because I want to go to paradise. It's like, no, what is it that, and you don't feel anything. So I have been thinking, how do I feel, get into the heart? And you know what happened? Because it has to do with love and excitement and passion. So yesterday, my son Mustafa and I, we had a Zoom call with two young men from Uzbekistan. And one speaks perfect Russian and the other speaks Uzbeki. And they have put the Ghazali project into Uzbeki and into Russian languages. And the one doing Russian, because remember, Russia had taken over their country. You may not know this, but Russia had gone into Central Asia. That's Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. And they came in and they wouldn't let the Muslims practice their religion. It was just terrible. And the Muslims sort of went underground. And then now the Russians have gone. And so some of the people know Russian. So the young man, he said, so I'm putting it into Russian. I've been in charge with the Russian religious authorities, the Chechenian, they all want the Ghazali. And then the one doing it, Uzbeki, said, so I'm also doing it in, well, Kazakh language. We're finding a Kazakh. I'm having an intern this summer. She's from Kazakhstan. So we're going to put it into Kazakh language. So my son and I are talking to these people and they've got beautiful hearts. And we're saying, why are you putting all this Ghazali into these languages? And they just said, see, I'm starting to cry. They just said, you have no idea what it was like for us to be with no religion for so long. We can't be giving our children, do 10 of these, do 20 of these, and that's it. Our children need to love what they're doing and understand it. And as we are talking to them, and I'm feeling it right now, my heart, I was in my heart because I loved them. I loved the quality in their hearts that was helping them to do something so beautiful. So every so often, you will find when you're doing something for someone else or talking about a really good idea, or let's say we're all talking together and thinking, my goodness, there's something beautiful we could do for someone. When you do that, you move out of me, and you move into the presence of Allah in your heart. So why don't we go around? This is before we start the camel story. And everybody try to say if they can think of some way they've ever experienced really being in their heart completely, or a way they might. So that's a hard question. So it's you're going to be pretty brave if you raise your hand, but see what you can say. All right, let's start. Who's going to start? Will you start? Nobody's going to take a shot at it. What about one of the mothers?
Okay, I'll take a shot.
I can guess how you could do it though, even teaching those children, right?
Well, yeah, no, definitely. But something I came across the other day, my husband and I were watching CNN.
Okay.
There is a documentary that's out at the moment about a man who was in Guantanamo Bay. He's from Mauritania.
Oh.
And he was kept in the Guantanamo prison for 14 years without charge. The first 7 years he was in prison, he hadn't had a trial. But year 7, he had a trial and he was acquitted, and he was still kept in prison for another 6 years. And during this time, subhanAllah, he was obviously very heavily tortured and went through a lot. He lost his mother passed away, his brother passed away, and he was completely innocent. And he even lost friends in the prison as well. But the amazing part of the story is when he came out, he forgave everyone. And in fact, to the extent that the guard who was guarding him, who was an American soldier, military soldier, he became his best friend, and the American guard converted to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most amazing story. They've actually just made a film about it. And there was, in fact, I would love to share a small clip with you guys, if I can, I don't know, just so you can watch this, just so you can experience this person.
Oh.
Because he wrote letters to his lawyer about what he was experiencing, and they were so beautiful that they published them into a book. So but I'll send it out because you just have to see him. I mean, it's the first time I think in a very, very long time that I felt like you could almost see the quality, subhanAllah, of like a Sahaba in him. Just that level of forgiveness, and just him, he was just beaming with light.
Oh.
So I'd love to share that so you can watch that. It's really something amazing.
Auntie Lubna, the host, if they enable screen sharing, then you should be able to screen share and show us. So
Shall I
if the
do
host, yeah, so I don't know if you can do it yet. So if the host clicks on the 3 dots, and then they click on security, and then it says enable screen share, then you should be able to screen share the clip.
I made
Okay.
it so you can screen share.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
cool. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to open it. Well, not 1 second.
Well, you know,
Few minutes.
thinking
Few
about
minutes.
this is important. What Auntie said, you know, because there's something. Allah, we can experience Allah's presence in 3 ways. When someone says something that's really the truth, it's so beautiful sometimes when you hear it, you get tears in your eyes because Allah's present in the intellect is the truth. Then sometimes you see you see something that's so beautiful, a mountain, a sunset. It's so beautiful that you cry because Allah's presence in form is beauty. And then where is Allah's presence in your will? It's in virtue. And the virtue of this man, that he was so like the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that he was forgiving everyone. Isn't that the way we're all supposed to be, everybody? Why do we love him so much? Because we're loving the truth, right? I once had an experience where someone said, put on the television. And I put it on in the morning and there was a plane taking off in Washington, D.C. and it immediately fell into the Potomac River, which was frozen. It was all full of ice and the plane is sticking in the ice and I'm watching it on TV and people are coming out on the wings trying to, but then they're sliding off the wings into the ice. And then a helicopter lowered ropes, right? And people tried to hang on to the ropes, but they were so cold, they let go and fell back into the icy water. And then you know what happened? People along the road stopped their cars and one man dove into the ice and swam out to save a drowning lady. He himself died. You see, it's the same story that we're hearing from Lubna. Someone who gives it all. He gave his forgiveness. He was utterly present in his heart. That's a heart story she's telling you. And the reason we love these stories is we want to be like that. It's because we are like that inside, you know?
I'll share it with you. I won't share the whole thing because it's about 20 minutes long. I'll just share the first section just so you can get an idea of what he's like.
We're very techie here, thanks to the boys. Thank you.
So I'm going to screen share. To be the host. Yeah, hopefully I'm the host. I'm going to screen share it with you. Hopefully you can see this and hear it. Let me know if you can't.
Guantanamo Bay prison system still open after 19 years. Several former detainees who've been released over these years have written to President Biden urging him to shut it down. They say President Bush opened it. President Obama promised to close it, but failed to do so. President Trump promised to keep it open. Now it is your turn to decide. And indeed, 2 weeks later, Biden did order a review and he has pledged to close Guantanamo prison before leaving office. Mohamedou Ould-Slahi is one of the signatories, and he is among the most famous of the Guantanamo inmates. He was held and tortured without charge for 14 years. His book, Guantanamo Diary, is the basis for the new movie, The Mauritanian. It stars the legendary Jodie Foster, and it's out this week. Here's a little bit of the trailer.
The U.S. government is holding upwards of 700 prisoners at Guantanamo. Since when did we start locking people up without a trial in this country?
That's a lot of case files. The prosecution won't show us the evidence they have against you. It's all redacted.
You had a problem taking up with the government.
All my time here, I've been told you are guilty. Not for something that I have done, but because of suspicions and associations. I am innocent.
He has been interrogated. He has been held against his will for 6 years without a single charge being laid against him.
Now, the amazing thing is that Mohamedou appears to bear no deep grudge. He believes that to forgive is to be free. And he's joining me now, along with the film's director, Kevin MacDonald, and also Steve Wood, who was Slahi's American military guard in Guantanamo Bay and who is now his friend. All three of you, welcome to the program. You have an amazing story to tell. And I just want to start with you, Mohamedou, because you are literally the protagonist. How do you feel now after all these years? How have you been able to process it, even including in the years since you've been released?
First, thank you for having me, Christine, your amazing program. And I would like to say hi to your audience. And I would like to salute Kevin and Steve, who are your guests. I mean, in one word, I feel amazing. I mean, how many people get to write a best-selling book? And how many people get to have that book translated in about 30 international languages? And how many people get to have that book adapted into a major motion picture helmed by one of the greatest directors who ever lived? And I mean, it's amazing. It's beyond me. It's just the biggest vindication I could never have imagined. You know, and it's another proof that the pen can really defeat the sword.
You know, it's quite humbling to hear you, actually, because we know what you went through. We've read it in your book. We've seen it in the film. The torture was really dramatic. The waterboarding, the sexual harassment, assaults, you know, the beatings, the hangings up, the massively difficult temperature freezing, and also obviously the sound that you were subjected to. I wonder whether Kevin and even Stephen, I don't know what goes through your mind when you hear somebody like Mohamedou say that he feels vindicated and he's not bearing grudges. Kevin, what prompted you to make this film?
Well, exactly that, exactly what you've said, and talking to Mohamedou. I read his book. I was enormously impressed by it, because it should be said that Mohamedou is a born writer. He writes beautifully, even if the subject matter in this case is often so upsetting. But it was really not the book. It was talking to Mohamedou and hearing how he has processed this. And as you say, this forgiveness, and we hear so much about forgiveness, but there aren't many people, I think, maybe Nelson Mandela is obviously the prime example, but there aren't many people who have been through such horror and who are able to empathize with their guards and with their captors. And that's what struck me, is that he is able to think, to put himself in somebody else's shoes, even if that person is a guard who's unjustly holding him or torturing him.
I want to just ask Steve Wood too, because obviously in the Mauritanian, you do feature, but not as large as you and Mohamedou do in a Guardian documentary called My Brother's Keeper, which is also out now in conjunction with the Mauritanian. And you have been reunited. I want to play this little clip, which is Mohamedou waiting for you at the airport in Mauritania when you finally reunite after all these years.
Airports make me very nervous. Whenever I see someone in uniform, I get scared. Even though I know I haven't done anything wrong, no one is going to take me away to kidnap me. Hey, what's up, big guy? You didn't change much, did you? Welcome home, brother.
Steve, I find it really, very touching, because you were his US military guard in Guantanamo Bay for many, many years that he was imprisoned and shackled and tortured. You'd never met, I don't think I don't think you'd ever met a Muslim. You didn't know what to expect. You were told that you were going to meet the worst of the worst 9/11 terrorists. What did you find when you actually started to interact with Mohamedou in Guantanamo Bay?
Well,
So in the beginning, I worked in Camp Delta, the I guess general population area you could call it, and it was you don't you're not supposed to act friendly with the detainees, and they're always shackled whenever they're removed from their cells. And when I started working with Mamadou, it was the opposite. Like the first moment I met him, he walked out of his cell, no shackles, with a smile on his face. And he shook my hand and said, "What's up, man?" So it's like, it was shocking. It was definitely a positive experience in a way.
And what did you both feel, Mohamedou and Mohamedou? What did you feel when you could see that you hugged him, and pictures in that documentary show that you have him in your house to stay, and you're giving him the traditional Mauritanian clothing to wear. How did you manage to be friends with your God?
In a way, it was me getting back at him. He has imprisoned me and guarded me in that very small cell. And now I found my chance to imprison him in my home. And because in Mauritania, we have these small tents, to protect one from mosquito, but they look like small cells. And I told him, now I'm the guard and you are the prisoner. And it was very nice because we were really friends in prison, but neither of us could really tell the other was really honest about it, because the balance of power is very upset. Steve had the right to use physical violence, to include death, if he felt threatened against me. And I could never threaten him. I could never lay my hands on him. So, but we forget all of that, and we start to gossip about other people, including interrogators and the guards. And when you start gossip with someone, they're your friends, because that's pretty much all I do, in my family, gossiping about other people. And then when we met, the balance of power was established. So we had pretty much the same rights, except I wasn't allowed to travel because of this stigma of Guantanamo Bay and pressure from some American officials. But aside from that, I was very much on a par with him. And I really loved him a lot, and I love him today, and I will love him because I consider him a part of my family, and he's the godfather of my son Ahmed, and I'm the secret godfather of his daughter Sama.
Oh, sorry.
And I think, Steve, you've also converted.
Oh, sorry, important bit.
To Islam yourself. Let me just ask you, Kevin, about making the film.
Okay. Did I stop sharing it the wrong bit?
No, let's shall we hear about he converted to Islam, huh?
Yeah, the guard converted to Islam, but then after this, I don't know if it goes on. I'll send it on the group so that you can watch the full.
Thank you.
Full clip, because it goes on for quite a long time. And then there's a documentary, Guardian documentary that I'll forward called My Brother's Keeper.
Oh wow!
Which shows his relationship with him when he's converted to Islam, and he goes and stays with him, and he fasts with him in Ramadan, and he prays with him, and it's really so beautiful. It's really something.
That's the thing, everybody. If you obviously this wonderful Mauritanian, and we love Mauritanians, and I've been there. Look at him. He was Noor. Did you look at his face? Look how he was. That's who we all are. If we just take off some of the dust to expose that, and then he is doing more good by just his golden presence. It doesn't matter what this Mauritanian does in his life, but what he is, his quality of being, we love, right? So when we love, what are we experiencing? It's the heart, just as Lubna said. When we start loving something, and we're only loving God's presence in some form, we don't love other than he, right? We love things that are beautiful. We love qualities in people, but you can notice when you're loving something, right? You can notice that your heart is alive, you know, and we should always be in that state, you know, loving, you know, forgiving, right? It's wow. Thank you very much, Lubna, for sharing that with us. So we'll conclude with the camel story, and then people can all talk. Imam al-Ghazali says that since we're on this journey together, when I read the children's stories, I thought these are such baby stories, but the truth, the point he is making that I made into a children's story was that just as the camels are going to make a journey across the desert, in this case to reach Mecca, right? There's certain provisions they need in order to make the trip, right? And make their journey a success. So in the case of the camels, they need food and straw and water, you know, and what do we need for our journey across? We may need a job, we may need intelligence, we have to have a work so that we can feed our family, so we can have food. We have to keep our bodies up. That's the reason we don't smoke or do drugs or things, because our bodies are on loan to us, right? And so they're very precious because the bodies are given for us a little time to make the trip across the desert. And if you think about it, you know, everything like the sun coming out, day, night, if we didn't have day or night, and we wouldn't have rest, right? And if we didn't have day, there wouldn't be plants and there wouldn't be animals. There'd be nothing to eat. There wouldn't be trees. So somehow this amazing thing that Allah has put together is giving us a chance to have human bodies, right? That are like camels, and they're carrying our heart. And we have this little bit of time while we have the body carrying us, taking our human bodies across this period of time, and they are kept going by this glorious universe. But do you think Allah just made this whole universe in night and day so that we could just watch videos and eat food and all the rest of it? No, he made it so that the heart had time, your hearts have time to get themselves together, to not just notice something about yourself, but actually to finally change it. So Ghazali says the first thing is, you know, you have to take care of your bodies, right? And then remember that the real journey is not crossing a desert. The real journey is inside of yourself, right? It's dealing with your mind and your thoughts, the good thoughts and the bad thoughts. So remember in the story, the camels come to a rocky place, lots of rocks, and they don't want to cross the rocks. What do you all think the rocks symbolize? Who would like to say? You're on a journey and rocks, and you don't want to go. You don't want to do it. What?
The specks of dust on your
Yes.
heart.
Exactly. Yeah, those are the rocks. Yeah. Yeah, you
The
see.
things that will be on your way in the straight path.
Correct. Yeah. Remember all the things waiting to attack you. You know, all those are great difficulties. Like it might be difficult to be generous, right? It might be difficult to hold your anger, but these are rocks along the way that you have to overcome, right?
Sister Aisha, I think Awais had something to say.
Please go ahead.
I was going to say what Zach and Yusuf said.
Okay.
Well, you talk a little bit more. Go ahead, keep talking.
I was also going to say that they're like problems that are in your journey, like homework. For some people.
Yes, we're going to all talk about the rocks on our journey. Every single one of you is going to talk about the rocks. All right. Okay. I know some of my rocks. Okay. You've spoken very beautifully about your homework. And your sister, what is some of your rocks?
Like pressure from school sometimes can get a bit too much, but like being determined and like working hard can help you with that.
That's a solution, isn't it, for getting over the rocks? That's good. Just to push on through and work. Yes. And your solution for the homework problem, what is your solution? What good quality can you use with that?
Like to read and to learn new things about like to research. So if it's math homework, then you can like learn a bit more about what the topic is.
That's good. Good. Okay, everyone is going to speak about some rocks. So just whenever you're ready, speak up. Thank you. Thank you too very much. Who's next?
Can I talk?
Yes, go ahead.
My rocks are that I get angry too quickly.
What can you do about it? What are you going to do about that rock? What thoughts can you use to work on that? Okay, let's have a pretend situation. Give us something that makes you angry.
When my brother or sister do something that gets me angry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's pretend we leave this chat room now, and one of them does something and you feel really angry. What are you going to do?
I usually start yelling.
Well, what are you going to do now? Different.
I could try to control myself.
Absolutely. You have to. That's very good. Okay, next person, speak up. It can be mothers too. Yes, go ahead, Ahmed.
Sometimes I could be lazy, and a way that I can fix that is by like maybe get more fit. Like so like I could like walk more and run more, and that will make me able to walk to get stuff.
Yeah. That's very good. You have to do it because you've been given the body. You have to take care of it. You know, it's your vehicle. It's taking your heart, right, on the trip. And okay, what have any of you have problems with things that disappoint you? You thought you were going to get to do something and it didn't work out and you were disappointed. Has anyone ever had that rock?
Well,
Yes.
me and Lisa, well, I expect lots of people to, but lots of things were like cancelled and called off because of COVID. For example, last year we were going to have a really cool birthday party with two of our friends, who one of them was birthday party was in February, the other one was like 5 days after our birthday, and we were going to have a really cool party with all our friends invited, but because of coronavirus we weren't able to do it. So
you were disappointed. So how can you handle disappointment? What can you do about the rock when you're disappointed? The rock of disappointment.
You should learn to appreciate what you have, and also like make sure that you always have something else. You will have other things to do. Like if you look around, look at this house. Some people, they don't even have one, and you're pretty blessed to have one. With like even having curtains and shutters and copies of the Quran as well, and then to have access to electronics to even join these Zoom meetings. It's quite a privilege that many people don't actually have.
That's very true. That's beautiful. And also remember, we studied a long time ago in the beginning of the Book of Knowledge. Remember the story about the little ants? Remember how the ants thought they were going to get to go to the zoo? And then the parents said, oh, relatives are coming, we're not going. And the little ants did what kids do. Oh, you said you were going, you promised. And of course, then the kids get in moods. They're in a mood, right? A mood is a bad thing for kids to do to their parents. And then of course, at the end of the day, when the relatives left, they remember they heard on ant radio, oh my goodness, that the lion had gotten out. It was chaos. And then one of the parents said, look, Allah loved us so much, he sent the relatives, so we didn't go to the zoo. So always remember, when something happens and you think maybe it's bad, it could be good for you. So watch, just be a witness. Don't get upset, don't get angry, okay? Do you remember that story, boys? Okay, who's next? More rocks, please. More rocks out there.
I have one. So I'm quite impatient and I go on my phone a lot, which doesn't allow me to do other things. So I think now I should like spend more quality time with my family and like appreciate that they're there and I have company instead of just like being alone in my room. So
instead of using your home as just a base of operations, you know. There's the home. That's beautifully put. Yeah, that's great. What about you, Lubna? What are some of your rocks?
Oh gosh. Okay. So on Tuesdays, we study this great book called The Productive Muslim. And we were doing a chapter on procrastination.
Oh.
And there's a really interesting discussion about people like myself who are called productive procrastinators. So, so you put off the things that you should be doing, but with other really important things.
I know, I do it too.
So you kind of fool yourself into thinking that you're being really productive, but actually you're not doing the things that you should be doing. So, so that's my big rock that I really need to get over and start prioritizing the things that are important.
I know I'm having that problem right now. Every day I'm having a terrible rock because Hamza Yusuf asked me to do a script for a presentation for his Emir Stein Center. I've got to write a script and then I've got to go somewhere and be filmed. And it's got to be short and to the point. And you know, I just talk forever, right? So I put off everything. I've done everything else. And yesterday I sat down with it and I just stood up and went to the ice box and just ate because I don't know, I don't know what to do. I can't do what I have to do. It's a real rock. And then the food just makes it worse. Yeah.
He gives a really good, he gives a solution which you might try.
Which is what I need help. I need help.
He says that you put a timer on your phone for 25 minutes and you sit with the thing for 25 minutes.
With the thing you should be doing.
The thing you should be doing. And even if you don't do anything and you just stare at the page for 25 minutes.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to do it.
You sit there for 25 minutes is apparently enough that you can manage to stay there and it not be too overwhelming. And then hopefully either at the end of 25 minutes or you then take a break for 10 minutes and go and do something else and then come back and set your timer again for 25 minutes. And then you do it again. And then you will, he says that actually that's a kind of almost foolproof way that you will start.
Well, you see, family, all of you, this is Allah taking care of me because I didn't know what to do. And I admitted my problem, right? And now I'm going to do what you just told me because every day I'm afraid for the day because it's going to be a whole day of avoiding it, you know. I dictated it into an iPhone and had it printed out and it's chaos. I mean, anyway, who else would like to speak?
Sister Aisha, I just want to say, sometimes when I make that dua, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri, like when I have an interview or I have to prepare something or I'm unclear or I'm confused, sometimes that dua really helps because it just means I suddenly have clarity and conciseness. So inshallah.
Yeah. You're welcome. I'm locked. I'm not in my heart. I'm locked in a bunch of bad thoughts. This is so helpful.
Inshallah, you'll do great. You've written books and books and books. You can do this.
Yeah, but no, this is harder because it's really horrible. Okay. Okay. So who else is going to speak now? Because we just have a little bit more to go. Anyone else would like to make a statement?
Yeah, I can say something.
Okay, let's go.
I just want to say that what Auntie Livna said about the whole procrastination issue, I think that's definitely one of my rocks. I only realized how bad it was in lockdown when I would like sit for 3 hours and do absolutely nothing, or when I would do something completely pointless. And actually the 25-minute method is something that I discovered very recently from one of my friends. And I think it's called like the Pomodoro method or something. And there's a site called pomodoro.io, and you can just set 25-minute timers and label each of them as a task, and you can set like 2 for one task or however many you need, and it gives you like a 5-minute break in between, and then once you've done like 3 pomodoros, which is 3 lots of 25 minutes, it gives you like a 15-minute break. And now like like before I would do nothing and I would be up until like 3 doing my homework or something because I just spent 4 until 8 doing nothing. But now I can actually get some stuff done because I think like this method actually helps me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I'm so glad, and I've heard it from 2 places. This is great. So Ghazali says, by the way, we'll have a little bit more from him and then we'll do our last speaking. He said, the danger is, okay, everybody, red alert, danger. He said, you can be healthy, your body is ready. It's like you're already, you could sit and you can't get your work done. And we know what we're up against. He said, but the danger is you have a map to travel, everybody, a map to travel with. Ghazali is giving it to you. You've got bodies and you've got your hearts inside, but what if you don't bother to make the trip? Okay. This is a good question. What if you don't bother to make the trip, right? Imam Ghazali, of course, he said, up, up and away, but it's so easy to know all that we're learning and then not bother to do it. We just get together and talk about it on Sundays. And he said, knowledge is of no use unless it's used. And what we're doing, we're getting, with this gathering, we coming together, we're getting the real knowledge. Remember, there are 2 kinds of learning, the real and then, the regular. This is real, but if we don't use it, right, what's the use of having it? And he said, oh, this is the best image of all. This is just a hilarious image. Okay, everybody, imagine you're a camel, right? You've got a camel out in the backyard. And the camel is to go somewhere, but you just go out every day and you take your hairbrush and you comb the camel's hair and you feed it by hand the most lovely little lettuces and spinaches. It doesn't have to make any effort. He said, look how we're like that. Are we spending our lives just fixing our bodies up and combing our hair and eating great meals and having pizza, right? and we forget that our body was to go somewhere with. It wasn't just to sit around and eat and put on jewels and so anyway, so let's see, we've been 15 minutes over, but I'd like to go around and everyone make some last statement about what we've been talking about today. We've talked about having a target and having to practice in order to hit the center, and the center is our heart. And we already have our heart. We don't have to go somewhere to get it. And our heart is our door to paradise, right? And then we've got these great bodies, and are we going to spend all of our time working on the body, feeding it, fixing it, combing it, all the rest? Or are we going to make the decision to use this knowledge? So any of you can just make, because we're on a journey and we have to think about what's at the end of the journey. So in closing, everyone will go around and everyone can make a statement on anything we've been talking about today. It doesn't matter what you've learned, what you might try to do, all this kind of stuff. So who will we start with? Lubna, should we start with you and your children?
Yeah, I think Mariam has something to say. So I think the overall thing that I learned was that everything that I do has a target in the end, not just like mainly going to heaven, just like everything has a purpose, and it all builds up to this one target of like doing good things and just like making sure that you're aiming to like succeed them. And yeah.
Wow, that's going to be hard to beat.
Just there's a main target, which is heaven, and then I think that there are small targets that can build your way up to them. So that's my main.
Beautiful, utterly beautiful. Good.
That was mine. That was exactly what I was going to say. I think that one thing I learned was that you kind of have things that kind of block you from getting to, like what Mariam said, your overall target. And that's what you have to really work on. And if you don't work on it, then you're never going to reach that target. Target. I can't pronounce it. Yeah, so basically you just have to think about the things that you have to improve on and just continue to improve them overall.
That's great. That's really what, and Mom, what about you?
Oh gosh, I've said so much. I think the others I should speak. I'll pass on to others.
Call on somebody then.
Okay. Nylan Sawyer.
I think one thing that my mum actually said this at the beginning when we were saying, I think it was how we can get closer to God. I think it was that the best knowledge isn't what's in the books and what you've been taught; it's what you actually use and you put into action.
Good point. Excellent point. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. And your brother?
I mean, I think it's pretty similar to my sister and what was mentioned before, how in your life, you have lots of little steps which kind of slowly build you up to the main goal, to reach paradise. And so you have like lots of little tests, which kind of, if you pass them, you kind of move up a stage, and slowly you'll reach the final step.
That's well put. Very well put. Very well put. Okay, next.
I'm so sorry I don't know the names of our lovely friends in our New York friends.
All right.
But I can see Sueda, is that correct?
Yes.
Sueda.
From what we've said today, just any comments, anything, how it can relate to your life in any way, anything you've learned that you can use. I mean, are any of the ideas useful to you? I mean, I think the idea of not combing your camel too much, you know, some of the ideas, what idea is useful to you?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we can come back to you. You'll be thinking about it. All right.
Yeah, we can come back. We can go to Farhana's children, Layla, and Aisha, Zara.
Yeah, the entire video that you showed Auntie Livna. That's what I was gonna say as well. it was so incredible. I'm gonna watch the full thing afterwards. I think it's like, my gosh, it was so incredible. I think also we have a tendency to like think everything that's going on in our lives is like the end all be all, and it like dictates all our thoughts and actions. And then when you look at a video about something like that, which is so much bigger than anything we're doing with it, like helps put things in perspective a bit more.
That's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I forgot one of the things we were talking about is how to act from our golden heart, and not just from our mind, our story. Like, oh, I don't want to go, I don't like spinach, you know, but how do you act from your heart? Yeah, that was a great example for us, seeing he was a being that was forgiving everyone. If we start doing all that stuff, we're going to be happy, because you're really happy when you're working directly from your heart. If it's just stuff to satisfy your package, you don't feel really happy from it. Okay, who else would like to offer something? Any more comments?
Awais and Hasna, and then we can go to Ahmed, and then Amber.
Everyone should be respectful of one another, and you shouldn't get jealous of other people, because you should be happy for them instead. And happiness comes from the heart, not from the mind or your words. And also, everyone's on their own journey, and so we're all dealing with our own minds and overcoming our personal rocks and finding like those solutions to do that. So that was quite interesting.
That's beautifully put. Beautifully put. Everything everyone is saying is what we're all doing. It's wonderful. Yes. Who is next?
It's Ahmed next.
Ahmed.
So we're trying to reach the goal of the heavenly garden, and there's a lot of rocks in our way. For example, hypocrisy, envy, and wanting best for yourself.
Wow.
And we need to like go over those rocks. We need to like not do those bad deeds. And yeah, I that's all I could come up with right now.
Great. Wow, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, great. Any other contributions out there?
Amber, and then we'll go down to, I think it's Alperin. So Amber can go next because she had her hands
Amber
up.
is first. Okay, Amber.
What I wanted to say was about the video, and so this inmate, this former inmate, basically he forgave everyone that tortured him and all the guards and everyone that had wronged him there. And I just thought, I mean, first of all, that's amazing. I mean, I don't think anyone can pretty much can do that. I think that's an incredibly difficult thing. But it made me realize that people in your life that wrong you or mistreat you or, you know, or potentially oppress you, you have to, you know, think of them as the middle person, because this is your test. We are all here on this earth being tested so that we can get to Jannah, and you know, that's our goal. And this man really realized that, and he was detached. He was completely detached from all these people who had severely wronged him. But you know what? Okay, it's fine. They did what they did, but he wasn't attached to that, and he just forgave them. And I think that's something that, you know, we should all try to emulate in our lives. I think it was a really good lesson from that.
Amber, that is so true. All of us, let's just try to forgive everybody all the time. Is that a deal? Is that a group deal here? Okay. And this isn't forgiving that much. You know, we're forgiving little things. Oh, you broke my necklace. Oh my God, you know, but that's nothing. So Amber, thank you for that very appropriate response. Wonderful. And we're saying, Alperin, where is Alperin?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Yes.
I can't think of anything right now.
That's fine. Doesn't make any difference. Good. Anybody else want to say anything more?
We have, is it Haluk?
Yes.
Yeah, so I felt the first time, the first thing that we learned about was like the bow and arrow, and I feel like the more we practice, like we'll reach our goal. Mm-hmm.
That's really true. That's it.
Yeah.
We talked about generosity last time, trying to give our very best. We didn't talk about that today, but you know, if you just start doing it, it feels so good. You just don't know it's going to feel so good, you know? So you just got to go ahead and just give it a shot. Imitate the prophet. You know, would he do this? Yeah. Good for you.
And I think the whole entire documentary that you showed us, and the way that Umbo was saying that he just forgave everyone. And it just kind of reminds us that everything is just a test. And in the end, if you don't portray any of these negative feelings towards people, then inshallah you end up in a very high place in Jannah, inshallah.
Yes. And remember, we want Allah to forgive us, don't we? Do you think he's going to forgive us if we can't forgive other people? And forgiveness is part of being merciful and compassionate, you know? So let's just start letting it go, everybody, all right? Everything. We're just bearing, just as I forget which one of you, maybe it was Amber said, you could see that this gentleman from Mauritania was just bearing witness. He was present. He wasn't trying to run a story on it in any direction. He wasn't regretting or hoping. He was present. And that is the state of heart. That is when your heart is real, when you're present in front of the person in the situation and you're not thinking about something in the past or future. Anybody else?
I thought of something I just wanted to share. So if So I'm going to just tell you a very short story related to the video. So I was listening to a podcast. It was a Baraka Blue podcast. I don't know if you know him. He's an amazing poet
Yeah.
and a convert to Islam. And he does a podcast, and he had a gentleman on who was West African by origin, but he was an American. And he had gone to West Africa to study the history of West Africans in relation to the Black American population in the US. So anyway, he's in Senegal, and he meets someone in Senegal, and he says to them, "What's the time? You know, like, what's the time, man?" And the guy who he asks doesn't respond to him. And he's thinking, okay, because he said it in, is it Senegalese? Is that the language that they speak? So he said it in that language, and then the man didn't respond. So he thought, maybe I've not said it correctly. So he said it again. And again, the man didn't respond. So then the third time he said, okay, so did I say it wrong? Am I not communicating properly? And then the man said to him in English, he said, no, it's just that here we greet people before we speak to them.
Don't say, what's the time? You say, assalamu alaikum, what's the time?
You greet people before you speak to them. And I suddenly saw that in the Mauritanian, in Mohamedou, in that clip.
Yeah.
That when he started, and that was what was so incredible, I found that so powerful when he started. You know, he actually greeted everyone. He greeted Christiane Amanpour, and then he greeted Kevin, the director, and then he greeted Steve, and then he started.
Wow.
And I thought that was so powerful. In fact, I promised myself that I would do that. And then when I started speaking today, I didn't do that to all our lovely, family that's joined us from New York. And I felt really bad mid kind of thing that I didn't do that. And I should have, greeted everyone. But I just wanted to make that point, because that's a very Islamic concept, that you say salam to people and you acknowledge. But I just think it's the affirmation, the acknowledgement of other people. And I found that so powerful in him, aside from the forgiveness, aside from the humility. But that I thought was a really good lesson that we could learn, inshallah.
Well, I think that was beautiful. Yeah, so we're and Americans are really bad at that stuff. When you're in the Muslim world, someone says, how are you? How's your family? How's your mother? And in Americans, you just cut right to the point, it's really bad.
Could I share something, please?
Please.
Oh, let me put my camera. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. It was so amazing. Just when I was reading the children's book today in detail, I thought, oh, this is for me. I need all this. And I was thinking about two things. If you heard that somebody was put in Guantanamo Bay for 14 years, you might think, gosh, that is the worst thing. That is a terrible thing that happened to him. And sometimes to us in our lives, terrible things happen to us, right? But actually, when I was thinking about him, I was thinking, actually, you know what? At the end of that, his God became a Muslim, and inshallah, if you can contribute towards somebody else becoming Muslim, inshallah, I believe you're promised Jannah. Is that right? I think, is that correct, everyone?
I don't know.
But so maybe, yeah, it's a good thing. And I thought, actually, maybe him going to Guantanamo Bay, for him, okay, it was true suffering, but you know what? He's an inspiration to people around the world. He's improved the name of Islam. He's improved our standing in the world. Who knows what he'd have been doing if he was living his normal life? He may not have had that time of solitude and reflection and real self-searching, soul-searching. None of us do. We're always busy. So I just thought maybe sometimes you think something is so literally the worst thing that could happen to you. Our problems, inshallah, sort of fade compared to his problems. And yeah, it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Inshallah, our life will pass quickly. And inshallah, hopefully he'll have Jannah forever, and all of us, inshallah. So that really made me feel, listen, as long as you're not on Guantanamo for 14 years, even if you are, don't worry, it could still end well. And then the other thing I was thinking was about the camel. I think this is a very important thing. Little ones, obviously me and all your mums and stuff are much older than you. And as we go through life, I've realized something, that if somebody really focuses on what they want, first you have to know what you want. If you really focus on what you want, you usually get it, inshallah. So let's say you want to get to a fancy school, you study hard, you get the right tutors, you read the books, you start in advance, you prepare, you'll get it, very likely, inshallah, unless Allah doesn't really need you to have that. So if we decide that we want to go to Jannah, inshallah, we are steering that camel. if there's, shaitan and other things are going to put obstacles in our way, what we have to do is make sure we go around the obstacle and we pass it and we keep going. It's like a game, because if you get deflected or you actually just stop and give up, don't do it, because you have to know where you're going. Okay, if you don't know exactly roughly where Mecca is or how to get there, then you're in big trouble. Okay, because you don't know where to go, you'll be deflected right and left. But inshallah, don't let things deflect you. There will be, everybody's going to have obstacles in our path. It's not going to be plain sailing across the desert. But inshallah, and stop. Sometimes you have to stop and have a break. You go backtrack. But you get back on the path, inshallah. That's all. And Allah will forgive you everything, inshallah.
Ameen.
Ameen.
What a beautiful thing. I would just like to say to everybody, the children are probably fed up and they want to go do something else now, but I think it's been a wonderful class. And what I would like to propose, I think we work out as two groups. I like this. I think we all add something, being in these two worlds. So what about every 2 weeks, we have this same class at 10 o'clock. If there's, you all can email me if you have an objection, but I think we make a very good group. And the homework would be the next 2 chapters. And then we'll have our book of knowledge celebration party at the end. Do you all agree that we meet in 2 weeks at 10 and we stay together right now? Is everyone happy with that? I'm sure.
Yes,
no one,
inshallah.
no. Yes. Good. All right. So that's the plan. All right. Yes. Any questions? No, I think we make a lovely family. This is fun. This is fun for everybody to have some fresh blood come into our family. So this is beautiful. So I'll see everybody 10 a.m. 2 Sundays from now, and we'll do the next 2 chapters. All right. And really read them carefully and do the workbooks. I say this every time. All right. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Sister.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum to our New York friends.
So nice to meet you all.
Assalamu
Thank you, you
alaikum.
too.
We're so happy to see all of you. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.